This video provides visual instruction for installing Monogram dual-integrated built-in column refrigerators and freezers. You'll find more detailed installation information in the printed installation instructions. Before you begin the installation, familiarize yourself with the installation instructions, parts, and product clearance specs that came with the refrigerator freezer, and follow the installation instruction steps for removing the units from the packaging. We'll demonstrate the steps for a new construction installation with 25-inch cutout depth and 84-inch height. Use the leveling legs and wheels for a maximum 1-inch height adjustment. Use a Monogram trim retro kit to install the unit in an existing space with 24-inch deep cutouts and a 41.5 or 47.5-inch wide opening. This video is divided into chapters for your convenience, so you may watch the entire video or only the specific step you are completing. We've included an extra segment at the end that demonstrates how to reverse the door swing. This step would be completed after unpacking the units. Unpack the heater unification kit and make sure all of the components on the list are included. With the right-hand unit in front of the intended installation location, snap 2 bumper blocks on the upper section and 2 on the lower section of the left-hand case wall. Now, install the adhesive heater on the left-hand case wall. It should be approximately 2 inches below the top 2 standoff blocks and centered front to back on the metal case. Make sure the heater connector cord is toward the bottom of the unit when installed. Remove 4 1/4-inch hex screws to remove the left access cover. Then, clean the side using rubbing alcohol. And use the clips to adhere the loose wire tightly to the side of the case. To avoid the risk of electric shock, make sure the power cord is not plugged into the wall outlet. Next, plug the transformer into the 3-pin connector at the top of the machine compartment, making sure the locking tabs are engaged. Secure the transformer in the machine compartment with the 2 hex screws from the heater unification kit. Connect the 2-pin transformer connector to the heater connector, making sure the locking tabs are engaged. And place it in the wire clip at the top of the machine compartment. Then, replace the left access cover and 4 hex screws. You'll find the anti-tip bracket in the hardware provided with the appliance. This appliance is top-heavy, especially with any doors open, and must be secured to prevent tipping forward, which could result in death or serious injury. Read and follow the entire installation instructions for securing the appliance with the anti-tip system. Mount the bracket against the back wall. Use the floor mounting method if the back wall is more than 27 inches from the opening. Bracket hardware is provided for mounting into wood, steel studs, and concrete. Use the table in the installation instructions to find the correct location for the anti-tip brackets for the units you are installing. Measure and mark from the left-hand side of the opening for the left-hand unit. Then measure and mark from the left-hand side for the right-hand unit. Mark 3 holes for wall mounting or 4 holes for floor mounting. Mount the anti-tip bracket according to the installation instructions for wood, concrete, or steel mounting. The bracket must be screwed to either the floor or the rear wall. To route the strap coiled up at the back of the unit through the anti-tip bracket, cut the wire tie holding the strap bundle and pull the loop out. Put the strap on the backside of the retaining pin and secure the retaining pin to the bracket with the cotter pin. The ICEMAKER and AUTOFILL pitcher require a potable cold water supply with water pressure between 40 and 120 psi. You'll need one 8-foot water line for each unit. You must have an easily accessible shutoff valve between the house main water supply and the appliance water line connection point. These steps are in the installation instructions. To install the water line, shut off the water supply at the shutoff valve and connect the plastic tube to the cold water line. Hand tighten, then use a 1/2-inch crescent wrench to tighten one additional turn. Be careful not to over-tighten, which can cause leaks. Tape the water line to the wall and floor, approximately 3 inches to the left of the anti-tip bracket. Apply tape about every 5 inches toward the front of the opening to prevent the unit from rolling over the water line during installation. Do not tape near the cabinet front in order to keep the tape hidden under the unit. Now, remove the front access cover and tip the unit on its side to route the water line underneath and to the front of the appliance. Allow enough tubing to accommodate bend leading to the water line connection. We're using GE Appliances approved Smart Connect tubing, which is the only plastic tubing supplied in the Smart Connect refrigerator tubing kits. Do not use any other plastic water supply line because other types of plastic may crack or rupture with age and pressure. To join the dual-installed units, place the left-hand unit in front of the opening and install the bottom unification bracket using 4 screws and a 3/8-inch driver. Then install the top unification bracket between the 2 units by sliding it in place over the 2 shoulder bolts. You must connect to a potable water supply only. To connect the water supply, locate and bring the tubing to the front of the cabinet. Turn the water on to flush debris from the line, running about a quart of water through the tubing into a bucket. Then shut off the water. Remove the strain relief screw to allow enough slack to make a proper water connection. You'll replace this screw later. Insert the molded end of the tubing into the refrigerator or freezer connection and tighten the compression nut until it's just hand tight. Tighten one additional turn with a wrench. Over-tightening can cause leaks. Then, turn on the water to check for leaks. Before proceeding, verify that you've completed the anti-tip installation and waterline connection procedures for both appliances. Then, plug both units into the outlet in the wall. To reduce the risk of electrical shock, be careful during the remaining installation steps not to touch wiring or electrical components inside the compressor compartment while the appliance is plugged in and the front access cover is not in place. Remove the bottom hinge cover, but keep the 4 T30 Torx screws for later. Repeat the process for the other door. Now, loosen the strap by removing 2 Phillips head screws from the top strap bar and the large tensioner 1/4-inch Allen screw. This will allow the strap to move freely during installation. Keep these screws to reinstall later. Repeat this process for the second unit. Now, find the installation string that is attached to the unit's door. It's also attached to the power cord. Slowly walk both units back into the opening, pulling the string and the anti-tip strap tight to make sure the power cord is routed underneath the unit. To prevent damage, make sure the units do not touch the cabinetry on the sides and top. Both door faces should be 7/8 of an inch behind the front face of surrounding cabinets on either a stainless or a custom panel installation. Remember, the appliance is top-heavy and presents a tip-over hazard. It must be secured. Secure the straps in the front of both units by replacing the Phillips head screw in the top strap bar and the large tensioner screw to prevent the strap from moving. Do not over-tighten. Also, replace the waterline strain relief screw in the front rail location. Store the excess strapping, string, and water tubing under the unit. All models have 4-point leveling, accessible from the front of the unit. To level the back of the unit, turn the 7/16" hex nut located above the front wheels, clockwise to raise the unit, or counterclockwise to lower. Leveling legs support the front. Use a 7/16" open-end wrench to adjust the height of the unit to match the installation cutout opening. The unit should be level and plumb with cabinetry. The rear leveling wheels and front leveling legs are limited to a maximum height adjustment of 1 inch. If you attempt to raise the unit more than 1 inch, you'll damage the leveling system. For flush installation, make sure the front surface of the door is 7/8 of an inch behind the front face of the surrounding cabinets before continuing. Secure the stabilization brackets by pre-drilling 1/16" holes in both the side and top surround, 1/2 inch deep through the holes in the bracket. Drive 4 number 6 Phillips head screws to secure the unit stabilization bracket to the surrounding cabinetry. Repeat these steps for the second unit. Please note that this step does not replace the anti-tip safety hardware. Refer to the chapters on installing the anti-tip bracket and inserting and securing into the cabinet surround for details on installing the anti-tip hardware. Next, open the doors to make sure the lights are on. Check to make sure the master switch is on if the lights are not. Now, install the front access covers by replacing the 2 T20 Torx screws on each cover. Then install the front mullion trim by pushing the flexible dart areas of the trim in place between the units. Remove all tape, cardboard, and foam from each unit. Remove the boxed door bins from the shelves, and unbox and install the door bins. Then, install the access cover trim between the 2 units. Avoid contact with the moving parts of the ICEMAKER ejector mechanism or with the heating element on the bottom of the ICEMAKER that releases the cubes. Do not place fingers or hands on the automatic ice making mechanism while the freezer is plugged in. If the freezer is operated before the water connection is made to the ICEMAKER, remove the top wire baskets to access the ICEMAKER power switch and make sure the ICEMAKER power switch is off. With the freezer connected to the water supply, set the power switch to on. A newly installed freezer may take 12 to 24 hours to begin making ice. Throw away the first full bucket of ice to allow the water line to clear. It is normal for several cubes to be joined together. The ICEMAKER works best between 40 and 120 psi home water pressure. The AUTOFILL pitcher cover is on the left side of the refrigerator's interior. Remove the T20 Torx screw toward the rear of the cover. Keep this screw to use later. Slide the cover forward to remove it. And connect the 4-pin connector on the AUTOFILL assembly to the connector in the compartment wall. Make sure the locking tab on the connector is fully engaged. Now, insert the water line fitting from the AUTOFILL assembly. Make sure the tube is firmly connected and will not easily become unattached. Next, conceal the wires and tubing inside the wall compartment. Then slide the AUTOFILL assembly toward the back wall and secure it with the T20 Torx screw that you removed earlier. Align the pitcher lid to the dispenser guide and slide the pitcher toward the back of the refrigerator until it stops. There may be up to a 5-second delay before water starts to fill the pitcher. A newly installed filter cartridge will cause water to spurt and dribble until the air is out of the system. It's normal for water to appear discolored at this time. Water color will return to normal after the first few minutes of dispensing. Water will shut off after it reaches a specified level. It's normal for the water level to be below the top of the pitcher. After installing the AUTOFILL pitcher, run approximately 5 full pitchers through the AUTOFILL dispenser to remove air from the system. Wash the AUTOFILL pitcher following the initial flush before using. You can install overlay panels to give a customized flush appearance with the surrounding cabinets. We'll demonstrate custom overlay panels here. The installation instructions include stainless steel door panel information. The overlay panel must be 3/4 of an inch thick. Monogram recommends avoiding sharp edges by having the cabinet maker round or bevel inside corners and edges. For custom panels, use the templates provided with the units to pre-drill holes for the panel mounting brackets. First, make sure the overall panel dimensions match the recommendations in the installation instructions for the model you're installing. Lay the template on the back of the panel, aligning the top edge of the template to the top edge of the panel. Align the template side edge with the handle side of the panel. Use masking tape to secure the template to the panel so it does not move when marking hole locations. Next, mark the hole locations with a center punch. Then, drill pilot holes with a 5/64 inch drill bit, making sure not to drill any deeper than 1/2 inch. Install the top and bottom panel mounting brackets with 12 of the number 6 Phillips head screws. Make sure the cutout end of the bracket is on the hinge side. Also, ensure the flanges on the bracket are facing each other. Next, install the center mounting bracket on the handle side of the panel using 2 of the number 6 Phillips head screws. For the panel to be flush with the surrounding cabinets, the handle hardware must mount below the back surface of the panel. This requires counterboring. Refer to the installation instructions for limitations on the location and dimensions of counterbore holes. Each Monogram handle kit will come with its own set of installation instructions. Now open the door to 90 degrees. With the hinge door covers removed, slide the panel onto the door by interlocking the panel brackets with the door brackets. Make sure the panel doesn't slide into the cabinetry surround. Then, center the panel on the door and slowly close the door while watching to make sure the panel doesn't contact the surrounding cabinetry. With the door fully closed, carefully slide the panel toward the cabinetry. The target gap is 1/8 of an inch. You can adjust the panels with the 12 provided set screws. Inspect the top and side gaps and adjust the gaps by inserting and driving the set screws at the top of the panel. The panel may move horizontally during this process. If it has moved, slide the panel until you achieve the target gap of 1/8 of an inch. Now, check that the panels are plumb. If the panel is too deep inside the cabinetry, install and adjust the outermost horizontal screws in all 4 corners until the panel is in position. If the panel is too proud of the surrounding cabinetry, install and adjust the innermost horizontal screws in all 4 corners until the panel is in position. Each corner can be adjusted independently. With the panel adjusted to the desired position, secure the panel by first driving and tightening the vertical screws at the bottom of the door brackets, and then driving and tightening the remaining horizontal screws. All 12 set screws should be driven and firmly tightened in order to properly secure the panel. Next, secure the center mounting bracket with the Phillips head high-low screw and square washer. Install the top and bottom hinge covers using 4 T30 screws per cover. There are 2 door trims to install. The long trim is for the handle side and the shorter is for the hinge side. Install the handle side trim first. Clean the side of the door with rubbing alcohol to improve trim adhesion. The side trim is made up of an outer trim and an inner trim. Without removing the backing, make sure the outer trim is flush against the door panel and the inner trim is flush against the door steel. Without touching the exposed tape to the door, align the top of the inner trim with the bottom of the top hinge cover. Then push on the exposed tape to secure. Slowly pull the rest of the tape backer off and push until you've completely removed the tape backing. Secure the top and bottom portions of the outer trim after the inner trim has been secured. Do not bend too far away from the door or trim damage may occur. Once the handle side door trim is in place, Repeat the same steps for the hinge side door trim. Now, the installation is complete. The extra segment that follows explains how to reverse the door swing if it's required for the setup of the homeowner's kitchen. In this section, we'll demonstrate how to reverse a right-hand swing refrigerator. Remember, the appliance is top-heavy and presents a tip-over hazard. It must be secured. Begin by removing the 4 Phillips head screws and the stabilization bracket. Then rotate the bracket and install it on the opposite side of the case. Next, open the door to the top position. Have a second person support the open door as you remove the 2 T30 Torx screws securing the bottom hinge to the case. Remove the 2 T30 Torx screws securing the top hinge to the case. And place the door on a protected work surface with the liner side down to prevent scratches. The door hinges will remain in the open position during the door reversal process. Closing the hinge can lead to a finger pinch point hazard. Next, remove the 3 T30 screws to remove the hinge bracket from the case top. If they're not already removed, remove the 2 T20 screws from the front access cover in order to remove the bottom hinge bracket. Save these brackets and screws. Insert a flathead screwdriver or putty knife between the glass front and plastic side to free the control assembly by prying the plastic pins clear of the side bracket holes. Lay the glass assembly on top of the control housing. Now, use a T20 Torx bit to remove the 4 screws, 2 on each end, to remove the housing assembly. Using a 1/8 inch Allen bit, remove the unification bolt and move it to the opposite side. And move the housing assembly. As you do this, make sure the 5-pin wire connector wires do not get pinched. Wires must be rerouted from one side to the other for 18-inch models. Install the housing assembly using the 4 screws, 2 on each side. Snap the glass assembly back onto the control housing assembly, ensuring the plastic pins snap into the holes on the side of the housing. Next, turn off the master switch. Then use a T20 Torx bit to remove the screw at the bottom middle of the light switch housing. Slide the housing forward and down to remove it from the grommets on the case bottom. Keeping it connected to the unit, lay the housing aside. Remove the 2 grommets with a Phillips driver. And move the grommets to the set of the 2 holes on the opposite side. Align the housing keyholes over the grommets, and then slide the housing back until it's engaged, while making sure the wires do not get pinched. Install a T20 Torx screw into the bottom hole to hold it in place, and turn on the master switch. Now we'll reinstall the hinge brackets. It may be easier to remove the stability bracket for this step. Move the top hinge bracket to the bottom and the bottom bracket to the top. Make sure the 2 bracket slots are on the outside of the case. Install with 3 T30 Torx screws torqued to 45 inch-pounds. Start 2 screws for the hinge mounting, but do not tighten them all the way. Do the same for the bottom bracket and replace the 2 T20 Torx screws to install the front access cover. With the door hinges still in the open position, remove the hinge cover by taking out 4 T30 Torx screws. Then remove the 3 T30 Torx screws securing each hinge at the top and bottom of the door, and the 1 screw securing the support bracket to the door. You will be moving the shims between the hinge bracket and the door to the other side, so save these for installing the hinge. Move the hinge assembly to the opposite end of the door, top hinge to the bottom and bottom hinge to the top. Next, remove the T30 Torx screws to remove the panel bracket. Slide the bracket to the other side and reinstall it to the door. Make sure the 2 shims are between the hinge L bracket and door. Then, torque the 3 T30 Torx screws to 45 inch-pounds to install the hinges to the door. Now, install the support bracket screw through both the support and panel brackets, and repeat this process at the other end. Now we'll reinstall the door. With a second person, hold the door with the hinges near the correct position. Install the top hinge with the keyholes over the screws and slide the bracket. Then repeat with the bottom hinge. Ensure the 2 tabs on the hinges are inserted into the rectangular slots on the outside of the hinge brackets before tightening the screws. Tighten the bottom, then the top screws to 45-inch pounds. And carefully ensure the door closes correctly and the gasket aligns with the case. Now it's time to reattach the stabilization bracket to complete the door swing reversal process. Visit Monogram.com for more information on installation, parts, and accessories.